UN declares war on free speech to censor the truth, subvert accountability, and control populations. Because with free speech, we can speak back to the bullcrap that they spill. We can call them out on their lies and stuff like that. But with their censorship, they can stop us from calling them out on their bullcrap. That's why censorship is so important to the globalists. They want to use that to control us and to spin their narrative and push their propaganda, and they don't want people like myself and like you to call them out on that. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. All right. Now, this comes from Natural News' Lance D. Johnson, and he reports that Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, just released the globalists' latest game plan for population control, surveillance, and censorship. The game plan, titled Global Principles for the Information Integrity, seeks to put an end to, quote, harmful misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech online, all while, quote, upholding human rights such as freedom of speech. So we're going to uphold your freedom of speech by taking away your freedom of speech. Make that make sense to me. And notice they use the vague terms misinformation and disinformation, so vague, and hate speech. These are all vague terms that they can use, and they can call anything they want misinformation and disinformation. Guterres presented the game plan with a sense of urgency, commanding governments, technology companies, the media, and advertisers to take control and establish official narratives while quashing opposition voices. Now, this is on the heels of the Supreme Court decision to basically say that government has a right to censor your speech, which is unbelievable, totally antithetical to the Constitution. I don't know how they came to that conclusion. But the UN supports big tech's algorithmic control over the information stream online and seek to control online speech further. A global body of elites seek to delete what they believe is disinformation, and they seek to discredit and demonetize the voices of dissent. All the censorship coming from global power systems is war on free speech, but it also is a war on truth. So these power systems cannot be held to account for their abuses. Because think about it. We speaking out against what they did during the last pandemic and stuff like that. They don't want us to be able to do that with the new pandemic that they're going to be pushing soon, I believe. But they don't want us to be able to speak out against it and say, hey, we remember how y'all locked things down last time and how it ended up being worse and being harmful for people. So we don't want y'all to do that again. They want to be able to squash that type of dissent. But UN's information surveillance and control system seeks to centralize censorship for global domination. The UN is erecting an information surveillance and control system that crafts authoritarian narratives that limit access to life-saving knowledge. These control systems not only censor, but they train people what to say, how to behave, and what to think. The UN wants to create a world of simps who surrender their sovereignty and bow down to manipulative and abusive entities and false authorities. These algorithms or automated review processes will be programmed to filter and remove content deemed objectionable or politically sensitive. This can include blocking websites, social media posts, or entire platforms that criticize the government, promote dissent, or discuss sensitive topics like human rights abuses or political opposition. Mind you, all of these things are protected under free speech. But in times of political unrest or during manufactured crisis, governments may impose internet shutdowns or restrict access to specific websites or social media platforms. The tactic effectively silences dissenting voices, prevents the spread of information about protests or the abuses of governments, and limits the ability of citizens to communicate and organize. Examples of this tyranny were observed on Facebook's social media platform when Meta targeted and shut down community groups that discuss COVID-19 stuff that happened. I'm gonna leave that at that. Y'all know the platform I'm on. But any opposition to vaccine mandates were derided as misinformation, and any group that organized for medical freedom were algorithmically shut down or their reach was severely restricted. Furthermore, surveillance technologies can be used to monitor online activities in real time, tracking individuals' digital footprints, and identify dissenting voices or activists. The surveillance creates a chilling effect, deterring individuals from expressing controversial opinions or participating in political discourse online. And that's what they want. They don't want us to participate, because if we participate, we're more informed, we're more aware, and we will stand up against their tyranny, and they don't want that. But by manipulating search results, governments and pharmaceutical companies can influence search engine algorithms to prioritize or bury certain information about cures for infectious diseases, heart disease, cancer, and other chronic illnesses. By controlling what information surfaces at the top of search results, pharmaceutical companies can shape public perception, suppress alternative viewpoints, or promote propaganda and official narratives to keep people sick and coming back for more drugs and stuff like that. You know, I can't say here that really don't help. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to say exactly what they said. Y'all understand. But UN will abuse their power to command narratives and skirt accountability for totalitarian actions. That's exactly what they want. And governments may enact laws and regulations that impose restrictions on digital content, such as requiring platforms to remove so-called harmful or offensive content. Mind you, they're not illegal. None of this is illegal. We're not talking about illegal stuff. These laws can be vague and broadly interpreted, and that's what I alluded to earlier. Misinformation is a broad term, it's vague. Like, what is misinformation exactly? Allowing authorities to target journalists, activists, or ordinary citizens who express dissenting views. This was seen in the U.S. under Biden regime's targeting of so-called disinformation dozen, who were removed from and demonetized across social media platforms. The Biden regime also created a do not promote list for books that discuss the topics of jabs and stuff like that. And the federal government coerced one of the biggest book distributors, Amazon, to restrict access to these books. Dirty, despicable work our government and the globalists do. Authorities may selectively target journalists, human rights defenders, activists, or members of marginalized communities with harassment, intimidation, or legal threats. This creates a climate of fear and self-censorship, and that's what they want. They ultimately want you to censor yourself, where individuals refrain from expressing dissenting opinion or advocating for social change. The UN can throttle internet speeds or block communication channels such as messaging apps or VoIP services during periods of unrest and uncertainty. This restricts the ability of individuals to communicate securely, share information, or coordinate protests or activism. Like its predecessors, these UN-backed information control systems will be implemented without transparency or accountability, and there will be no due process for their targets. This lack of oversight allows those empowered to manipulate information flows without public scrutiny, exacerbating the impact of censorship and democratic processes and civil liberties. With this move, the UN and its military alliances are particularly declaring war on the press, on research analysis, and independent journalism. They don't want that. They want you to follow the party line. They want you to continue to spew their propaganda, and they don't want any dissent. And this is their way of squashing dissent. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.